AmericasWebRadio.com. You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
Good afternoon and welcome to America's Web Radio. We're certainly glad to have you listening in today. And we've got a very special show that we're starting, and it'll be every Thursday afternoon at 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock, as a matter of fact. We've never done anything like this before, and hope you enjoy it and hope you appreciate what we're doing. The thing that we're doing is we're going to call it Let's Talk Venezuelan, and we've got two Americans that were Venezuelans, but they've still got their thumb and their fingers and their eyes on Venezuela and know what's going on, and they're quite popular in the Venezuelan society here in Atlanta, Georgia, and we think that a lot of folks are going to appreciate what we're doing. And what we're doing is, like I said, something very different at America's Web Radio. The first hour is going to be in English, and the second hour is going to be in Spanish. Perfect. And that is a new twist. So with that being said, we've got Josie Cruz, and she's the good-looking one. And I'm sorry, Cat.
Beauty and the Beast, my friend.
But anybody that calls themselves Cat.
Somebody has to be the Beast here.
That's right.
Not you.
And we got Cat Fletcher with us. So they're going to be our host. And as time goes on, we're going to have, they are going to have guests. I let all of my hosts, you all do your own thing. I'm not going to tell you who to have or what to have or anything else. And I didn't even tell you to bring your own instrument. But,
I always bring my instrument. Never leave home without it.
Never. Okay. Well, we're going to be entertained. We're going to be informed. And I think the main thing we're going to do, and as I had told them many months ago when we first talked, we'd had a lady on, a Venezuelan lady, and she was telling us some of the atrocities that our media, our fake media, our untrue media, and all the rest of the garbage isn't telling America. And these people that put down America, put down the United States, well, just look at Venezuela. Well, yeah, you look at Venezuela, and it's turned into terrible under a socialistic government. And so our whole thing is going to be to tell the truth about what's going on in Venezuela, and also announce, too, that Josie, well, she's already announced, but Josie's also running for, is it the 4th District?
Yes, sir.
The 4th District against, well, we won't even talk about that. But anyway.
It's not worth it.
We will flip the district.
Let me ask you something. Has that island sunk yet that he said was sinking?
Yes, he's worried. The island, the name of the island is Guam. Would it flip up? Flip?
Yeah.
Because we will be sending like Navy people and, citizens over there, so he was worried about that. So we're gonna concentrate now to flip his seat.
Well, obviously, anybody that make a statement like that fits right in line with AOC and Bernie and the rest of them. So he must be a
with
Democrat.
the squad. Yeah, with the squad.
Yeah, with the squad. Okay, well, with that being said, welcome to America's Web Radio, and thank you for agreeing to do a show with us. And we look forward to every Thursday from 1 to 3.
Thank you,
Perfect.
sir.
Perfect.
It's all yours.
Well, Venezuela is more than politics. Venezuela is a country that is in the north of South America. It limits in the north with the Caribbean Sea, in the west with Colombia, in the south with Brazil, and in the east with Guyana and Trinidad and Tobago. Okay, it's known because it's petroleum, But Venezuela is more than petroleum, and that's the thing that we are here just to talk Venezuelan, because Venezuela has a very intertwined history with the United States from the beginning. Okay, we had Francisco de Miranda, the most universal Venezuelan in the 18th century, the guy who came over here and fought for the United States in the Pensacola battle. Okay, he was a Venezuelan. Then he became a Marechal de France, and his name is in the Arc de Triomphe in Paris. And also he was the lover of Catherine the Great of Russia. Wow, that's my hero.
I might say that boy got around.
Yes.
Oh yeah, he was bouncing from one continent to another continent.
Yes, always. Unfortunately, he came to Venezuela in the era of independence, and he got caught. We will talk about that story and history in other issues. Okay, but the most important thing is that Venezuela, since the 18th century up to today, is one of the partners of the United States. It's been a partner of the United States since then, and the history is very intertwined. And many people do not know the real history of Venezuela. Like many people do not know the real history of the United States.
Yes, yeah, especially today with the teenagers and the 20s. You know, those people in the 20s, 25.
Yes, and
I can't believe that I know more history of the United States. Me as being an legal immigrant who came over 25 years ago, I know more about the history of the United States than our kids today, our grandchildren, our kids and daughters, and this young generation. They don't know too much about the history. So
Venezuela has many regions, just like the United States has. We have the Andes, that is a mountainous area. We have the central part, that's where the 80% of the population lives, where Caracas is located.
Yeah.
We have the plains. We name that the Llanos.
Los Llanos.
Okay. We have Guayana, that is basically the Amazonian basin, and we have the islands.
Beautiful islands.
Okay. We have one of the most beautiful reef in the world is named Los Roques. That's qualified not by me, but with this French Jacques Cousteau, who said that Los Roques is one of the most beautiful places in the world.
Okay.
Qualified by him, not by me. And we have a lot of things. We have the highest
mountain.
The highest
drop of water
of the world, almost 3,000 feet down. Is the Salto Angel, and the Salto Angel, the Angels Falls. And do you know why the Angels Fall has that name?
No, I don't.
Well, because an explorer, an American explorer, that he was an aircraft owner that found that thing in the 30s. His name was Jimmy Angel.
Okay.
And he landed with his airplane to the Salto Angel, and the airplane got stuck there. So he had to walk down all the way to the civilization, and left that airplane for 35 years.
Oh,
okay. And it happens that when he passed away, Jimmy Angel, his ashes were deposited
on the Angels Fall.
On the Angels Fall. Yes.
Oh, okay, interesting. I didn't know about that.
Okay, part of the history. Okay, the intertwined history that we have in Venezuela. We also have a very, very important people. The most important guy who was from here to United States, the most expert guy in birds, went to Venezuela and stayed to Venezuela and create his family in Venezuela. His last name was Phelps.
Phelps.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the Phelps family is the family who create Radio Caracas Televisión, that it was the first TV station, private-owned TV station in Venezuela.
Okay.
Okay, he stayed in Venezuela. He created the Almacén Americano, that means the American warehouse, and he was the representative of RCA, Ford Motor Company. He bring really the modern American things into Venezuela. Was this guy who
Mr. Phelps.
Mr. Phelps? Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting.
Any question, my friend? No? Okay.
Yeah. So, what do you think about, for example, when David was opening the mic for us, he was talking about socialism in Venezuela, no? So I would like to talk a little bit about how socialism is today. People don't want to accept that is socialism. Some of them call it like a tyranny, others call it like a communism. You know, they call it in different names, but they don't want to accept that is socialism in the very hard
The
way.
thing with Venezuela is that it's part of a progressive
progressive.
Mode.
Mode,
Okay, it begins like a coup d'état, but let's go all the way to the independence of Venezuela.
Okay.
Okay, Venezuela in 1811 had a copycat constitution of the United States.
That's correct.
If you read the Venezuelan Constitution of 1811 and you read the U.S. Constitution, it's exactly the same principles: individual responsibility, property, respect to your property, respect of your life, respect of the rule of law, and all that things changed in 1819 with a constitution dictated by Simón Bolívar.
Yeah, he changed the game.
He changed the game. And in Venezuela, we had the typical Latin American heartman, you know, the typical military conception that the power and the military has to go together. Okay? And that happens that during all the 19th century, we didn't define really what Venezuela is. We've been in war since 1810 till the year 1899. Was 89 years of wars.
Civil inside
It
the
was
territory.
It was struggling every 2-3 years. Like, do you remember Bolivia many years ago that you have a coup d'état every month, every 2 months, and you have different things? And okay, it happens. The process in Venezuela was similar until 1899. At that time, a group of Andinians, that's the people from the mountains in the west, they came to Venezuela, they came to Caracas, and began a process, because those people were very different than the rest of the nation, because they were so isolated that they were more like the Colombians than the Venezuelans. They are very square, they are very, very conservatives in a lot of things, and one of them was a real genius. his name was Juan Vicente Gomez.
Yeah.
Gomez was the right side man, the wingman of Cipriano Castro, but he was the military genius and also the financial guy and the guy who structured the pacification of the nation via military.
Okay.
Okay, so he went into that thing, and he began to put order.
Get everybody together and
yes.
organize them.
But in 2000, in 1902, we had a big trouble, and again, this is part of the American Venezuelan history. It happens that in 1902, the English, the Italians, and the Germans, they blockade Venezuela.
Okay.
Because Venezuela have been without payments on their external debt for many years because of the continuous state of war. And they blockade Venezuela.
They want their money back.
Yes, they want more than their money back.
Okay.
Okay, and it happens that Teddy Roosevelt said, whatever you are doing in Venezuela, you have to talk about it to us,
to the United States.
The United States.
Okay.
In that time, United States was an emerging power, and it says that it says he's with the Monroe Doctrine.
The Monroe, okay.
Yes, the Monroe Doctrine.
Okay.
And he said to these very, very big
powerful nation
navies, he says, if you put a soldier in the Venezuelan coast, you have to deal with us.
Okay.
And he sits the Germans, the English, and the Italians to the table, and after and he negotiates under our name. Okay, we're about to go to a commercial break.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. David Moxley.
Thank you.
Get your pen and paper ready. If there's a move in your near future, I'm here to tell you that the folks I used and now recommend is Around Town Movers. Timothy and the guys recently moved me, and I am and was totally satisfied with a sometimes not so fun experience moving. Call Timothy at 770-378-4708 and make it a good move and a good experience. Around Town Movers for that local or cross-country move. Timothy, Around Town Movers, in my opinion, are the best. That's Around Town Movers. Call them.
This is Ron Camacho, host of the Business Hour, on Fridays from 10 to 11 a.m. Join me as I talk with passionate professionals on a program that profiles the best businesses, business professionals, business practices, and fascinating individuals to get an insider view of how America works. 10 to 11 a.m. on America's Web Radio.
The Docs for Patient Care Foundation is your way to join the fight and become a member of an organization created by doctors for patients dedicated to fighting for your healthcare freedom and preserving the doctor-patient relationship. Get a pen and paper. Write down www.docsforpatientcarefoundation.org. That's www.docsforpatientcarefoundation.org. Go to our site and please make a generous tax-deductible donation and join the fight today. Thank you.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
And we're back on America's Web Radio with our brand new show and folks that are doing it. Josie Cruz and Kat Fletcher. And We certainly appreciate both of you being in studio, and this is going to be a weekly thing, and we're going to set the world straight. And you know what's funny about this? I say that in jest only to a small portion because we do talk to the world. We have people listening to us in Venezuela, I bet. And I know we have people in Canada, throughout the United States. We're very big and getting a bigger presence in, we have the #1 car show in the UK. So people listen to America's Web Radio, and you all are bringing such a new, valuable topic in and service in, and thank you so much for agreeing to do Let's Talk Venezuelan. And so with that being said, Kat and I were talking, and Josie off mic for a second, about if you go back and you look at the histories of most socialistic countries, it's been somebody that's come in and promised everything for nothing. The government will take care of you for life. And it was a poor country, generally speaking, a poor country with a populace in need. And whether it was in need of medicine or food or education or whatever it happened to be, those people would promise you everything. Gosh, does anybody in the United States do that today? Promise everything? Can I?
Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and Julian Castro, and Beto, and what's the other? Kamala Harris, and what's the other? And Joe Biden, and all of them are promising the same thing.
And it all works like a charm, just like in Venezuela, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes, but it happens that in Venezuela at that time, we were a very poor country because 90 years of continuous war is impossible to create wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens that the Venezuelan wealth is thanks the United States of America, and let me explain you why. Teddy Roosevelt negotiated this treaty in Paris with these powerful countries.
3 countries. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And the United States said, okay, Venezuela owes you money, but they only will pay you 10% of what you're asking for. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing that the United States did for Venezuela, specifically the administration of Teddy Roosevelt. Second, you will give them 50 years to pay off that debt, using the ports, and that's it. Okay? And if you have any claim, you have to ask us, United States of America. We are the one who support the Venezuelan economy from now on.
Kat, I got to ask, it just dawned on me, and this is sort of getting off the subject, but not a whole lot. Wasn't the movie The Beverly Hillbillies filmed in Venezuela because he was out prospecting and they found what's called black gold?
Black gold. And that happens years after. Venezuela at that time, it has petroleum, you know. They know that there were oil over there, but really it was not that industrial thing that everybody was looking for. The thing happens that in 1903, we get this treaty in Paris, negotiated by the United States, a very advantageous for Venezuela, and that gave us stability, political stability, okay, with a very conservative government. And that's the era when we began to really know what is going on. And it happens that during the first 10 years of this tenure, they organized everything in Venezuela. They began to create the highway system. Mm-hmm. They upgrade everything with the American know-how. Mm-hmm. They began to accept the American money
The dollar.
Okay, not the dollar, the gold coins named the Monroes, the $20 coins, and the Monroes for Venezuela is de la Morocota. That means that's the name of the actual American money made in gold in Venezuela, and that's how it began to rebuild the economy in Venezuela.
So that help out the people to be more responsible, producing, growing, and like cows.
Yes. Yes. Remember that Juan Vicente Gomez was a guy who owns a cattle ranch in the Andean Mountains, and he had that mentality, like a rancher.
So people stop fighting, and then they start producing. Basically,
they began to produce little
families
by little.
Start having exchanging what they were producing.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the way that the country started getting wealth.
Okay, yes.
That was even the petroleum was not even there yet. Not yet. So what they were doing, the cows, they were doing the coffee, they were doing the cacao. What else they were doing?
We used to have the gold standard for example, in chocolate, in the cacao beans. Okay. We used to be the third largest producer of coffee beans in the world. Okay. We used to be all the leather that Venezuela produced. Venezuela used to have one by one relationship in number of heads of cows and people. So all the leather that Venezuela produced was exported to United States. We had a really intertwined commercial relationship at the beginning of the 20th century.
Food was going in and out, not only for United States but for the Caribbean and all.
Yes, we had a surplus on production.
And then when the oil came in
1914. In 1914, we had an accident in the region of Zulia.
In El Zulia.
Yeah. That accident is a deep well that exploded, and during almost 6 months, that thing was expelling
everywhere, contaminating the whole area.
But it was some.
Is that when the United States came in and tried to control
is at that time because it was a real problem for the government. Listen, it's contaminated all the region.
Of course,
we need help, and it happens that. Rockefeller, John D. Rockefeller, the owner of the Standard Oil, came helping Venezuela because of that problem. For Venezuela, the oil was a problem because they are destroying the land. So we need help
to control that spell.
And John D. Rockefeller came to Venezuela with their company. He create a special company for Venezuela named the Creole Petroleum Corporation. And he began to exploit with the American know-how in this kind of things the petroleum of Venezuela. The Standard Oil is the SO now, the SO. It's the.
But I have a question. The question is, they had the treaty with. United States was like the arbitrator, right?
Yes.
With Venezuela and these 3 countries. How many years they took for Venezuela to pay off their debt before the petroleum?
I will ask you that. I will answer that question after the commercial break that David just tell me that we have to do.
Want to ace your upcoming survey exam? The NLC Prep Combo has everything you need to help you crush your upcoming FS, PS, Florida PSM, California PLS, or Texas RPLS exam. Combos include a full-length practice exam book with the same number of questions and category types as the actual exam, a pre-programmed HP35 with 17 programs to solve those time-consuming equations such as COGO, triangles, traverses, and more in seconds. A complete online course is included that covers every topic of the exam with videos, workbooks, quizzes, and a full-length practice exam that simulates the computer-based format of the FS and PS exam. That gives you not just one, but 2 full-length practice exams to help fully prepare you for test day. Visit us at nlcprep.com for more information and let us help you crush your exams.
This is Ron Camacho, host of the Business Hour, on Fridays from 10 to 11 a.m. Join me as I talk with passionate professionals on a program that profiles the best businesses, business professionals, business practices, and fascinating individuals to get an insider view of how America works. 10 to 11 a.m. on America's Web Radio.
My name is Kyle Hayes, a motorsports student at Alfred State College. Every year, Alfred State students compete in the Great Race, which is a cross-country time endurance rally for vintage vehicles. As you can imagine, it's pretty costly. I'm asking for your help. Your donation can make it possible for these students to live their passion and promote the vintage automobile industry. Please visit our site at give.alfredstate.edu and search Great Race to learn more and help us reach our goal. Thank you.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
Ansiedad de tenerte en mis brazos, musitando palabras de amor. Ansiedad de tener tus encantos y en la boca volverte a besar. Tal vez estés llorando, mi pensamiento, tus lágrimas son perlas que caen al mar y el eco adormecido de este lamento hacen que estés presente en mi soñar. Quizás estés llorando al recordarme y estreches mis retratos con frenesí y hasta tu oído llegue la melodía salvaje y el eco de la pena de estar sin ti.
I didn't know we were going to be entertained, and is this in our contract, Brett? And,
Okay.
Is it costing extra?
Venezuela is one of the most musical countries in Latin America. You have 8 countries that define the music in Latin America. And one of those 8 countries is Venezuela. The others are Argentina with the tango, Brazil, okay, Mexico, okay, Cuba, Puerto Rico, Colombia, and Peru. Those are the 8 countries that define the musical, the Latino music is that, and Venezuela is one of those. Okay, and it happens the interest that Venezuela became that important for 2 legends of the music. One is Aldemaro Romero, who came to the United States in the late 40s and record an LP, one of the first LPs in the 50s, named Diner in Caracas. Diner in Caracas was so important that for almost 15 years was the instrumental record breaker in American music. That's it, how important it was. And the second musician was a very important jazz singer. His name was Nat King Cole. This Ansiedad was the first record from an American artist of a Venezuelan music. Wow. And Nat King Cole opens the door to all the Venezuelan music from that time on. Okay, I think he was from Alabama, and he was a jazz singer, and he was very, very important at his time in the late 50s. So that bring a lot of interest. But Venezuela is a very musical country. We have a lot of classical music directors like Aldemaro Romero, or we have a lot of composers that did a lot of work. And during this program, we will bring a lot of these different sounds in the original versions, and sing by whatever is invited over here. It's not only me. I bring my little cuatro. The cuatro is the national instrument of Venezuela. Okay, it's like an ukulele, 4 strings, but the tune is different. Oops. Okay, and it's different, but it's the same instrument like the national instrument of Hawaii, the ukulele. Okay, it's like a baritone ukulele because it's the big version, and we will have a lot of fun with this instrument, and it's part of the education of the Venezuelan people, having musical education on their backgrounds.
Kat, you are absolutely one of the most talented people I know, and I hope the folks that are listening the first time, and this is the first show, and I hope they'll tell other people about the show and realize how important this show is. And if you'd like to be a part of it by sponsoring it, getting your name out to the Venezuelan population here in Atlanta or wherever you might be, we are heard worldwide. We're the largest, or one of the largest producing podcast radio stations in the country, and we're heard in Venezuela and in everywhere. So if you'd like to be a part of it, contact GM, General Manager, at americaswebradio.com, and let's talk. And back to Let's Talk Venezuelan. You all are doing
let's go
great.
back. Let's go back to the question that I asked you before we took the break.
Okay,
how long after the treaty between United States or these 3 countries from Europe, in order for them to not come to Venezuela and invade Venezuela? Because if it's not because United States, we would be talking German today in Venezuela.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, so United States stopped Germany, France, and this, to split Italy, France, Germany, and what's the other one?
United Kingdom.
And the United Kingdom. We would have Venezuela split in 3 different countries.
Yes.
And especially we would be speaking today German. Okay.
Yeah.
So how long did it took? Okay, they give him 50 years. Gomez. They give Gomez 50 years to pay off the debt. Mm-hmm. How long did it took for him to pay back that debt?
Well, Gomez took the power from his compadre, from his. He was the
How many years, Carlos?
He just he took the power in 1908. Okay, and he do something. He said we need to pay off the debt by the time. It's the 100th anniversary of the death of Simón Bolívar. Okay, and Venezuela paid off in 20 years.
What they supposed to pay in 50 years?
And in 25 years from because the payoff of the Venezuelan debt happens in 1928.
So back in those days, we didn't have the petroleum explosion yet.
Not yet.
And he paid off all this debt in 25 years just by having cows and growing food and cacao and coffee.
Remember, the petroleum came in 1914.
Okay.
Just in the middle of all this thing. Okay. And with that extra income, he paid off the debt. But not only that, we just paid off the debt just before, remember the crack of 1929, American history. Okay, we paid off the debt in 1928.
Okay.
So what happened? That one of the few countries that didn't have external debt, that was producing a lot of things, including oil, and had a hyper stability in the government, happens to be Venezuela. That's why Venezuela had, even during the Great Depression, Venezuela had growth, something that didn't happen in the rest of the world.
Okay, so what happened and then why Venezuela, if he had this way of paying off the debt, people were not hungry, a rich country, how come Venezuela end up today what we have? What happened back then during those years?
Well, do you know when you are producing it, when you are working, when you are working, you have a problem with restructuring the education. Okay, Venezuela was a country that with a lot of wealth, but like somebody named the Beverly Hillbillies. Okay. Okay, Venezuela was like that. Okay, a typical country with a lot of riches, but we had very little education. Even though that the education in Venezuela was fairly good. We had universities in Venezuela since the 18th century, but the thing is that the great mass of population, the people who lived in the countryside, they were very poor, and we had also a problem like every tropical country in that time. That is that you have a lot of problems with health. You have the yellow fever. You have a lot of Venezuela is a very extensive country that is almost 1 million square kilometers. That's almost the size of maybe Texas. So it's a very large country. It's very large, very extensive. We have the largest in volume river in the world is the Orinoco. That's in volume. It's not the largest in
the longest.
It's not the longest, but it's one. Is the one that has the more volume of water transported by the river. Okay, that gives you. Venezuela has almost 4% of all the water in the world. Okay, because that situation in the Amazonian basin. Okay, and it's interconnected. The Orinoco is interconnected with the Amazon via the Black River.
Yes.
So you have a lot of things that happens with Venezuela. Venezuela has a very important reserve in the ecosystems. That is why it's so delicate. This exploitation now in the Amazon basin of gold and all this stuff, because exploitation of gold creates a lot of problems, because you use mercury in order to get that gold. So the pollution on those things are very delicate, especially when you deal with mercury. But let's talk about that after the break, because
you don't let me talk.
David is telling me. David is telling me that it's a commercial break.
Yes, I agree with that. And then next I'm gonna talk.
Okay,
Okay,
David,
thank you.
you make the question to the lady.
Last week, my party chief said he wanted to go someplace he had never been before. So, I took him to the rear property line. Sound familiar? Are you tired of trudging all the way to the back of property lines? Why not take the steps to become a crew chief instead? Or even better, why not become a professional land surveyor and see your name stamped on that final survey? The Nettleman Institute of Land Surveying Engineering Technology is your next step. At NICET, we believe you are the future of surveying, and we want to do everything we can to help you succeed at becoming a professional surveyor. NICET offers the only online one-year certificate of land surveying program that includes all books, fees, and expenses in one simple price. Visit landsurveycareer.com to stop trucking through the mud and step into your future today.
This is Dr. Susan Blank, host of Detailing Addiction and medical director of the Atlanta Healing Center. Please join me on Tuesday afternoons at 4 p.m.
Perhaps you are struggling to cope with the disease of addiction. If not, you probably know a family member or friend that needs help in battling the cravings and the personal and professional damage done by the effects of drugs or alcohol. Get a pen and paper and be ready to write down the following. These are the issues that the trained staff at the Atlanta Healing Center address and treat every day. Their doctors and counselors with over 40 years of practice in the field of addiction can treat the suffering individual in a thoughtful, compassionate, and experienced manner and guide him or her along the path to recovery. So call 770-696-9862 and speak to a knowledgeable staff member about how you or your loved one can be helped to enjoy a better and healthier life. More information is also available on the website at www.atlantahealingcenter.com.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
And we do want to thank you for listening. We're doing something a little different, or we're starting something a little different today, and it's called Let's Talk Venezuelan. And I hope we have a lot of Venezuelans that are listening in and will start listening in and participating, and we'll be setting it up on our website. In fact, we've got the page set up, right? And we'll be adding 2 addresses to if you want to communicate with Kat and with Josie, you can email them, Kat or Josie, at americaswebradio.com, and it'll go directly to your all's email address. We'll never see it, but if you have a question for them or you want to talk to them about next week and what they might be doing, or any interesting subject, we'll be glad to pass that, or it'll be passed on to Kat and Josie, and we certainly appreciate what they're doing for America's Web Radio, and want to remind everybody at 2 o'clock what makes it even different. And I started to say what I hate. Well, different from everybody else. That is that they are going to do the next hour in Spanish. So if you've got Spanish-speaking friends that want to hear a totally different show,
I think it will be in Spanglish.
You think it will be in Spanish? Yes,
in Spanglish.
And the only thing that, thank goodness, Kat has agreed to is that, he's playing his, what's it called?
Cuatro.
Okay.
Cuatro.
And but he's agreed that he won't do any table dancing.
Ah!
We're still working on.
She's in
working
charge.
on-
No.
She's in charge.
No.
Anyway, we're having a good time. Hope you all are enjoying the station and the new show, Let's Talk Venezuelan. And, maracas, do you all do maracas?
Las maracas no las traje.
No.
I didn't bring my maracas.
No.
That's good. I'm glad you didn't. But
No,
No, you don't want no
But,
noise more.
You know maracas in Spanish.
Cut it out. Cut it out. cut it out. Cut it out. No. Prohibido. No, you don't want to go there. No. Okay, Carlos, come on, focus. Come on, Carlos.
Back to the schedule.
Carlos, focus.
So you have a question?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, you have a question.
No.
The question's still in the air.
Okay.
When socialism start in
just at the moment that Venezuela get out of all the troubles, economic troubles, and became a real attractive country.
Okay.
Because you have a growth, you have almost non-population. So many people of different parts of the world began to see Venezuela as an option.
Look at it. Okay.
Especially during the Great Depression in Europe and the United States. We had a lot of migration from Europe and from the United States. Okay? And the Americans are tough guys, the American way to do things, and we began to have very good engineering and very good things about that part. But we also bring some people from Europe that they had their ideas about socialism and contaminate.
So hold it. So I'm gonna say something probably is gonna be controversial. But it's not exactly that we're experiencing here now in the United States when we are opening. They want to open the borders to bring all these people from Central America with the socialism idea to come over here to transform the country from within. Is something like that happening in Venezuela back in those days with those people from Europe?
It's very similar.
It's very similar.
Yes.
So are we experiencing now here in the United States the agenda applied to Venezuela 80 years ago?
Yes.
Definitely.
Okay. And began with the eugenics. Okay, so the government after the passing of
Gomez.
He passed away at the tender age of 80 years old.
Yes. Tender.
Okay, but he left a legacy. But the guys who were after him, they were so they want to modernize the country, and in that modernization began the problem. Yes. Because at that time, we're talking about 1936, who was the most important politician of that era? Adolf Hitler. He was a guy who appears 4 times in the Times magazine in United States.
Like Fidel?
Okay? Yeah. Yeah. But what happens? Okay, they design the modernization of the state with an idea. We just want to have a modern state just like Germany. And they have a central bank at that time designed exactly just a copy of the Bundesbank.
So Venezuela left.
The American
know-how, they pushed that on the side and they decided to copy Germany style.
Yes.
With what president was that in Venezuela?
Eleazar López Contreras.
Okay, Eleazar López Contreras.
And he brought another paramilitary things, the National Guard, that is not designed like the American National Guard, but just like SS of Germany. And as you know, Nazism or fascism in reality is a form of socialism.
Yes.
Okay? So our road to our path to the socialism began in the 30s.
In the 30s.
Yes, without knowing it.
With a little process, like in a progressive way.
In a progressive way and without knowing it, because in good faith,
like a baby spoon.
In good faith, Mr. López Contreras said, "I want a Bundesbank with all the gold in the Bundesbank instead of in the power in the accounts of the people. Okay, we want a national guard that controls military things that controls the civilians.
The civilians.
Completely different that is in United States.
Okay.
In the United States, it's the civilians the ones who controls the military.
Yes.
In Venezuela,
it's all the way around.
They changed the constitution in order to have a military organism that has to control the population.
Okay, after those two, what was the next step? The numbers that they gave people,
and also happens that they began to bring people from other parts in order to refresh the blood. Okay, eugenics. You know, we want people of this race. We don't want the people of Venezuela. No, that people know. I want blonde people, or I want this kind of model. That's why today Venezuela has that mix of races that creates we have around 20 winners on the beauty pageants around the world.
Oh, yeah. You can find in Venezuela beautiful ladies from all shades of colors.
Yes.
It's because of that richness of the mix of so many races. So back in those days, they brought people from Europe, from the North area down to Morocco area, through the Mediterranean. And
especially from Italy, from France, from Spain.
But how about
Portugal?
The Middle East? From the Middle East
from
too.
The Middle East,
from Syria, Lebanon.
Yeah.
When the Ottoman Empire split, they immigrate. A lot of them immigrate to Venezuela. I mean, to America, to the Western Hemisphere.
Okay.
But in Venezuela, we used to see we used to call them.
So that's when that's when we began. But in 1941, once the United States enters into the World War II, Venezuela was the real factor to win that war. The Allies won the war because they had an infinite supply of oil. An infinite supply of oil. And 90% of the oil that the Allies consumed at that time came from Venezuela, because all the Texans production was stopped because the person that produced oil in the United States were into the war effort and other things. So it was the Venezuelan Petroleum through the Creole Petroleum Corporation, the one who gave the Allies that age, that age that demonstrate and that won the war, because Hitler didn't win the war just for one factor. They didn't have petroleum.
They didn't have the
fuel. They had to go into Russia. The invasion of Russia came because Hitler needed the petroleum of Ukraine, the Ukrainian, and that's why you have the Stalingrad battle that cost Hitler his power and the war at the end. Okay, so at the same time that is happening that in Europe, what's happening in Venezuela? Who takes control of the government? Who was elected? That question I will have to answer in the next show, because you always leave me hanging like this. This guy is a dictator. He's a tyrant. He's a dictator. It's okay. It's okay. Thank you very much, David.
You've been listening to Let's Talk Venezuelan with Kat Fletcher and Josie Cruz, who is a candidate for representative from the 4th District, and we want everybody to realize that, and that how much we appreciate him coming in and talking. And we're about to start something brand new for America's Web Radio, and I'm not sure that this goes on across the country very much, but we're going to continue Let's Talk Venezuelan, but in some foreign language called Spanish. heaven forbid.
No, it will be a mixture, you know? It's a mixture of Spanish and English.
No, Spanish.
In Spanish. Okay. Well, I'm gonna extend. I'm going to shoot my whatever of Spanish in ¿Cómo está usted?
Spanish.
Oh, the other thing I know is poco taco. And no. So anyway, if y'all will stay tuned, we'll be back right after a couple of messages, and we'll start Let's Talk Venezuelan in Spanish. And I hope that in this break you'll take the time, if you have Spanish-speaking friends or Venezuelan friends, call them up and tell them about, golly, something weird is going on at America's Web Radio. They're going to be speaking Spanish. The Latino's coming. This is an uno first, whatever, and we'll be back right after this.
This is Ron